Top 10 Badasses of the World's Special Forces. Here is a list for us James Bond wannabes in commemoration of a recent list of corny 1980s action flicks. The 10 special forces from around the world that have the distinction of being the most elite and, as a result, the baddest are examined in this list. Please feel free to share your personal favorites in the comments, which will undoubtedly include plenty that aren't on this list. 10 Spetsnaz. In contrast to most military training programs around the world, Russia's special purpose regiments, which are comparable to the US Green Berets, face punishment every day while undergoing training. Anytime they want, they can stop. The best, most combat-loving murderers are what the Spetsnaz are looking for. They spar specifically to hurt each other, breaking ribs, fingers, and vertebrae, and only mending long enough to get back up and finish the training. They are primarily used for reconnaissance or close-quarters fighting, but they are also used as formidable bodyguards for high-ranking officials. They assert that because it is impossible to ignore pain, they are not instructed to do so. Instead, they are instructed to relish it. 9 French Naval Commandos. Hubert, Triple, de Montfort, de Penfentigno, Joubert, and Kiefer are the 6 regiments that make up the Berets Verts, or Green Berets, as they are known. Whether it is for combat diving, close-quarters sea battle, exfiltration, canine units, or long-range fire support, including snipers and missile launchers, each unit is trained for a specific task. They were created in large part at Jacques-Yves Cousteau's request. Cousteau served as a naval officer during World War II. MARSOC 8. Currently, the U.S. Marine Corps Forces Special Operations Command only accepts applications for men. Its main objectives are often internal defense in foreign countries, special reconnaissance, and direct action. There are 4 phases to their training, each one getting harder. Phase 1 consists of SEER training, which includes evasion, resistance, and escape. Depending on where they are deployed, they are taught how to create fire using friction, mirrors, and even ice. With the warmth of your hands, you can mold the ice into a lens shape that functions like a magnifying glass. Of course, they bring Zippos and matches. Following that, they start practicing a hybrid of the most practical martial arts, including Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, and even Pankration. Then comes Filipino knife fighting, or Sayak Kali. Phase 1 has recently begun. Phase 2 consists of reconnaissance, amphibious demolitions, and marksmanship. With the addition of field radios and satellite data uplink devices, Phase 3 is a continuation of Phase 2. Instruction in irregular warfare, which is code for Anything Goes, is provided in Phase 4. The Derna Bridge mission, which pushes the recruits to employ every ability they've learned thus far, makes up the majority of this phase. 76. The members of Section 6 of the UK's Secret Intelligence Service, sometimes known as the Security Service, are the closest thing to James Bond. It collaborates closely with Section 5, MI5, which is more of a standalone spy organization focused on counterintelligence and counterespionage. However, MI6 is the organization that disperses its agents over the globe to find risks to international intelligence and neutralize them before they become seriously hazardous. They will be quick to tell you that there is no James Bond among them and that their assignments and missions are very boring when you visit their headquarters in Vauxhall Cross, London, where they are located. They do, however, have an agent who is in charge of all equipment and weapons deployed for each mission and is quite similar to Q. They also have a gym, dojos, and indoor gun ranges. 6 U.S. Army Rangers. After completing basic Army training, the candidate will be trained for the Halo Parachute Jump, SEER, Languages, Elite Combatives Expert, Mountain Warfare, Combat Diving, and all-weapon qualification training. In order to become experts in their chosen professions, students participate in advanced individual training after 9 weeks. They then enroll in the Army Airborne School and the Ranger Indoctrination or Orientation programs. Once they graduate, they are so well trained that some soldiers have reported having nightmares about Ranger training and waking up thankful that they are just in Vietnam. A Ranger told me of an instance where he was the captain of a tank regiment engaged in drills in the Amazon jungle, and as a result, they lost some ground. Just for exercise, but they had to open their tank hatches due to the oppressive heat. A Goliath bird-eating spider was hissing and slithering toward the captain, who will go unnamed, when he heard a thump behind him. He admits to screaming like a girl, stabbing the tarantula, jumping out of the tank, and running for 1.5 miles across the bush. His friends continue to tease him about it. 5. United States Army Green Berets. They go by that name. As opposed to the special forces of other nations, many of which also don green berets, they are technically the U.S. Army Special Forces. The Green Berets are typically trained to conduct unconventional warfare, which involves infiltrating a hostile territory ahead of a significant military conflict and preparing the local inhabitants for resistance to the adversary. Among other places, this was carried out in South Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. If there is no local resistance to the enemy, the Green Berets enter and neutralize as many of its officers as they can in order to weaken them. Typically, this involves throat-cutting and sniping. The Army evaluates a recruit's possession of 12 characteristics: intelligence, physical fitness, motivation, trustworthiness, accountability, maturity, stability, judgment, decisiveness, collaboration, influence, and communications, before beginning their rigorous training. 40% of applicants are able to convince the Army that they possess these qualities. The final training involves a variety of endurance exercises that require participants to carry heavy backpacks through 40 miles of difficult terrain while carrying just a live chicken and a knife, day and night. The recruit can eat the cooked chicken if he can start a fire. He is not handed a lighter or a box of matches. Only a compass and a hand-drawn map that he created during earlier scouting classes are permitted. For the Delta Force devoted to hostage rescues, counterinsurgency, and general counterterrorism. The only recognized counterterrorism organization in the United States, they are officially known as the Army-run 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. Selection is based on a physical fitness test that includes sit-ups, push-ups, and a 3-mile run in an undetermined amount of time. Then, a 35-pound backpack, 18 miles of rugged terrain, an all-night journey, and a compass, without a map. This culminated in a 40-mile trip with a 45-pound rucksack in a condensed amount of time. The recruit is then subjected to a tough battery of mental tests by psychologists in an effort to confuse him. If he succeeds, he actually gets to start his 6-month Delta Force training. Heavy weapons, hand-to-hand combat training, and firearms. 3. Shayatet 13. The name translates to Flotilla 13, and their official motto, Never Again, which alludes to the Holocaust, is shared by the Israeli military. They like to make fun of their unofficial motto, which is when the going gets tough, the Jews get furious. Although Shayatet 13 most closely resembles Delta Force, they are one of Israel's 3 most elite special forces units. They are experts in hostage rescue and counterterrorism, and because they are so close to a number of countries that seem determined to eradicate them, they are constantly prepared to leave the country and commit murder. They are incredibly clandestine, but among the missions that have been made public, Operation Spring of Youth, in which they hunted for and assassinated Black September members in Beirut, Lebanon, as retaliation for the 1972 Munich massacre, is one of note. They train extensively in Krav Maga, the national martial art of Israel, which they affectionately refer to as Jiu-Jitsu, in addition to rifles and heavy weaponry. Its ideology is founded on the idea that no quarter will be requested or granted in a genuine street fight. Strike to kill, strikes to the groin are fairly common. 2. Navy SEALs. Given the quantity of action films featuring the concept of an unstoppable warrior, you might assume there are many of them, yet there are just a little over 2,000 of them. They are the most skilled special warfare combatants in the United States. They receive the same training as the other U.S. Special Forces, but at an even greater level of proficiency. Males between the ages of 17 and 28 are required for SEAL training, as are eyesight deficiencies that may be corrected to 20/20ths in either eye and an unbelievable physical fitness exam. SEAL training lasts for more than a year. swim 500 yards, 460 meters, and under 12:30 with a competitive time of under 10:30 utilizing breaststroke or combat side stroke. A competitive count of 79 or greater while performing at least 42 push-ups in 2 minutes. A competitive count of 79 or more when performing at least 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes. 6 or more pull-ups from a dead hang with a competitive count of at least 11, no time restriction. Run 1.5 miles, 2.4 kilometers, with boots and pants, with a competitive time of no more than 10:30. Training then starts. 24 weeks of physical preparation, diving, and land combat are followed by 26 weeks of SEAL qualifying training. Then there's specialization in any area where a SEAL team needs to know something, like sniper, language specialist, rope climber, diver, jump master, covert entry, dynamic entry, door breacher, and so on. 1 British SAS. The Special Air Service is similarly skilled in all of the areas outlined for the SEALs, but is also more thoroughly trained by MI5 and MI6 in counterintelligence than the SEALs are. To the extent that both special forces work closely together when necessary, like in Iraq and Afghanistan, and have strong camaraderie, their physical ability must be on par with that of the SEALs. They are trained in knife fighting by experts in Apache Indian knife techniques, as well as Sayak Kali, Krav Maga, Jeet Kune Do, and, for the past 3 years or so, the Kisi fighting method, made famous by the Chris Nolan Batman films. They wear tan berets like the U.S. Army Rangers and both the SAS and SEALs. They hold the distinction of serving as the template for the majority of current national commando groups, including every other item on this list. That's for now. We appreciate you for being here. View more our channel videos.